Dear Sangha and all Buddhists and Dharma friends, it is our usual time for Dharma session um, and Q&A session. Today is a special day um, due to the Vesak day of 2026. During this Vesak day, we wanted to speak a little bit about the meaning of this day as well as the gratitude of a Buddhist. We need to um, we need to find a way to fulfill paying gratitude as a Buddhist. Each of us has our own responsibilities. Each of us is like um, a piece of a piece to build up a house to help transmit the Buddha Dharma from generation to generation to help all sentient beings to learn about this Dharma and be able to um, transcend suffering. For a Buddhist, uh, if we don't have the foundation of remember paying gratitude or paying tribute to the Buddha and the patriarch, then it's not easy to learn the Buddha Dharma, or there's no way we can reach enlightenment. Same thing for a student. If they don't have respect for the teacher and the lessons that the teacher teach, then they won't be able to benefit for themselves and won't be able to contribute to um, the country later. We also have a saying: first, we need to um, learn about the gratitude, and later we will learn the lesson. So for someone who know, who memorize and know the gratitude, and always remember to pay gratitude to everyone, then they can benefit a lot for themselves and for all sentient beings. So that is just to talk about the worldly matter, let alone the Buddha Dharma. The Buddha has an example, for example, a three stories house. We like the upper stories, but if we don't have the foundational, the first level story, then there's no way we can reach the highest level of a house. There are a lot of different examples. Um, or when we talk about the precepts, the bhikshus before the Buddha entered nirvana, they asked the Buddha, after you entered nirvana, what do we use as our teacher? The Buddha says to use the Buddha Dharma as the teacher. And then how can we rely on? The Buddha said to rely on the precepts. And that's why the Buddha said, once I entered nirvana, you need to use the precepts as the teacher. So the foundation is the ethics, the gratitude, It's not about any other thing like the um, material thing. We have a saying, anyone um, who is both moral and both talented, then they are is excellent. Um, but if they have talent but they don't have the morality, then they will become very dangerous. Um, the next version is have no talent but has morality is still acceptable. But for the one that have none of those, then um, we have nothing to talk about those. Um, we need to learn the meaning from the teaching of the Buddha. And in order to do that, we need to make sure we don't attach to the words. So those are some of the foundational things that we want to mention. Today is the Vesak day. Thanks to the Buddha, we know about the Buddha Dharma and be able to absorb and accept this Dharma and be able to grow within this right Dharma. And that Buddha Dharma help us transcend all sufferings of the world. Therefore, we have to always um, remember and pay gratitude to the Buddha. Then, what should a Buddhist do in order to pay gratitude? We don't want to just say it, or I always remember your and always want to pay gratitude. That doesn't help if we just talk about it. Each of us, besides fulfill our own responsibilities, we also need to be diligent on the practice. Same thing for the common word. First, we need to know to memorize the gratitude of the teacher and friends. And from there, we have to be diligent to study. And we have to study based off on our responsibility and on the skillful means in order to benefit the common interest instead of just thinking for our own interest. So for us to, if we want to learn Buddhism, we need to understand the Buddha. Like the Buddha said, if you believe in me but you don't understand me, then it's equivalent to slander me. Therefore, as Buddhists, we have to understand the essential meaning and understand the Buddha and apply into practice in order to bring great benefits for ourselves and all sentient beings. Like Master We Sơn always taught us he taught us that if we are not able to fulfill that responsibility as a monastic, then we bring um, notorious reputation to this uh, dharma. So a monastic has to be different from a common person. Have to find a way um, to help promote the Buddhism and find a way to pay gratitude to the Buddha, to the three jewels, to the parent, to the teachers, to friends, to all people that support us, all sentient beings. Um, this gratitude may be mentioned in multiple different ways, but the Buddha's intention is to mention the gratitude that cover everyone. So Master Wisdom word is to remind all of us to always get back to practice. So for each of us as patriot Chan practitioners, we have to find a way to practice following the right principle. The principle passed down from the Buddha to the patriot to us always mention the essential of the practice. The Buddha had to spend 3 great kalpas, do countless good acts, and offering all of his good deeds in order to seek the ultimate enlightenment, in order to pass down to all sentient beings. Once, when the Buddha first got enlightened, he he found that all sentient beings will have a hard time to accept the right Dharma. But thanks to the heavenly being that asked the Buddha to teach the Dharma, therefore the Buddha promised to teach the Dharma, even though he knows that it is very difficult. If we look into the history of all the patriots, we can see there were a lot of hardships, a lot of difficulties. It was super difficult passing through all the Indian patriots, eventually brought over to China. Even some of the patriots have to sacrifice themselves until Bodhidharma got poisoned for 6 times. But he still tried all possible ways to maintain the Buddha Dharma, not letting it being disrupted, and eventually passed down to the 6th patriot. To summarize, the Buddha taught us over 49 years, and eventually he summarized all dharmas that he taught have the same flavor, that is the flavor of liberation. And the right dharma has to end attachment. The right dharma is to eradicate all attachments. Also, to talk about this method of patriot Chan, it's the wish of not just the Sakyamuni Buddha, but Buddhas of the 3 times. This method is the transformation of prajna. Like the patriot mentioned, The prajna essentially, originally, cannot be described by any words, but itself can will be able to cover all kind of meanings. So the source of our method is to believe in the true mind and to raise the doubt. If we just randomly practice but don't know the true meaning of belief in the true mind or raise the doubt, or if we don't understand the meaning of the Hoa Thou, because we don't have the foundation of memorizing the gratitude, we don't have a good start when we first begin learning. And that's why we can easily get confused. So, speaking of the foundation is to believe in the true mind and raise the doubt. All of the teachings of the Buddha is to strengthen the belief in the Buddha nature. Only when we believe in the Buddha nature, then we will be able to see that nature. Or else we will just believe in our own consciousness, our own attaching mind, uh, even though we think that we believe in our true nature. Even if we establish a concept about Zen, that is still establishing a concept. And if we do that, we actually fall into ignorance and not really practice correctly. Therefore, the Buddha said we have to find a way to utilize the words, the skillful means of prajna in order to raise the contemplation of prajna. And once we are able to raise that contemplation of prajna, we will be able to enter into the gate of non-duality. If we are not able to do so but only talk about it, then we will just go around within our ignorance, um, just go around within arguments and the forms instead of returning to the true nature. The patriarch used multiple different terms in order to describe the Buddha nature, but still, a lot of us still don't understand the true meaning because we just chase after all of the explanation of words instead of experience it realistically. Uh, there's a previous patriarch named Thần Hội. He was very into all of the terms, all of the very fancy terms about Buddhism. And then the patriarch said, if you only cling on to those terms, you'll never be able to um, be enlightened. So that is a story about Zen. So during the teaching of the Buddha, he emphasized the prajna. He emphasized the way in order to recognize the Buddha nature. Each patriarch and each Buddha has their own experience, their own way to teach sentient being. Like the Buddha talked about the meaning of the three sentences in the Diamond Sutra in order to end duality. Still, people are not able to get it. So he talked about the four statements. So the four statements cover all of the principle, all of the theory of all religions. Uh, it's like a formula that cover um, all kinds of thoughts, all kinds of argument, or principle. And our way of practice is to transcend those four statements by using the doubt. So we use the doubt as the way to help us practice to um, push aside all of those knowings, all of those um, differentiation. But this item is not easy to understand. It requires a lot of practice. That's why Master Chiu Chou said, if we have one mind, one act for 30 years, then we will get the achievement. But a lot of us just want instant result. We practice for a few days and compare to other people, feel like we could not gain as much as someone else. Then we still didn't practice well, even though we practice day and night. We practice with the mindset of chasing after all of the desires. That is not the right way to practice. So today, for the Vesak day, we wanted to talk about the wish of the Buddha, what he meant for us to be, and how to eventually manifest our Buddha nature, how to cultivate to eventually reach enlightenment and liberation, so that we can benefit all sentient beings and maintain um, the Buddha Dharma. That is the way to pay gratitude to the Buddha. So each of us, even if you don't know how to practice Patriot Zen yet, you can still continue to come here and learn. Um, just like if you want to become a filial kid to your parent, or then you need to always maintain your morality. Um, how do you do that? By every day, whatever you do, you don't go after your greed, your anger, your ignorance, but instead maintain your morality. So that is the best way to pay gratitude to your parents. Same thing for Buddhists. Um, we we maintain the practice with the goal of liberation and enlightenment. And with the help of the three jewels, we can gradually enter the gate of liberation and enlightenment. So each of the practitioner, you choose a question, a Hoa Thou question, and then we investigate that Hoa Thou question. So we keep when we keep that practice, it's a way to keep the foundation of liberation and enlightenment. And that's the best way to pay gratitude to the Buddha. We don't need to add anything or subtract anything. uh, we practice so we don't get controlled by our own desires, our wants. Just like if we raise the mind of generosity, then our stinginess will um, gradually disappear. Same thing when we practice, it's like a torch of light um, that light up the darkness, leading us out of the darkness of ignorance and the five desires. So all of these are skillful means if we can apply into practice, rely on the three tools, then you are guaranteed to eventually be successful and achieve liberation. So we need to ensure that you understand the foundational meaning of paying gratitude, and then from there uh, apply into practice. This our wise teachers always remind us the two basic conditions: believe in the true mind and raise the doubt. So we rely on the more seasoned practitioners, the people who have more experience, help the newcomers. So the practice help strengthen our mind, and with the support of the three jewels, the temple, it can help us become um, more and more on a clear path of liberation. Um, that is something we want to share and remind everyone. No one can help us uh, get liberation for ourselves. That's why we have a saying, the person who eats will get full, the person who practice will get enlightened. So make sure to maintain our responsibilities and practice in order to eventually achieve in liberation. That's what we want to share today. We invite Thầy Pháp Thiện to speak. Nam mô Shakyamuni Buddha. Dear Thầy, dear Sangha, and all practitioners or everyone online and at the monastery. Here at our monastery, we have some new people coming in today without knowing anything about our method of patriot chant. You just mentioned the two main thing of our method, which is believe in the true mind and raise the doubt. Can you talk more about believe in the true mind in order for the new beginner um, to in order for the new beginner to raise the belief that they have the Buddha nature within themselves? It's not that simple, not that easy in order to believe in the true mind. Usually, we believe in what we see, what we hear, what we know. But here, we just mention a term and then we provide lots of examples. And when a listener just attach to those examples, then they actually create a subject and object of belief. And the belief in the true mind that we are talking about. So the Buddha spent 49 years teaching the Buddha Dharma with the purpose to help sentient beings to believe in their own nature. The Buddha said all sentient beings, all people has uh, the Buddha nature within themselves. That Buddha nature is equivalent to the Buddhas, no more, no less. But a lot of us cannot believe in that. We only believe in our our differentiating mind, our subject and object, instead of believe in our true mind. Like Master Trung Phong Minh Bổn said, if you believe 10 out of 10, you will get enlightened 10 out of 10. But be careful, the belief in the Buddha Dharma, the belief in the Buddha nature is different from all kinds of other belief, including it's different from a superstitious belief. When we believe in the true mind, that belief should not be within subject and object. Only that will be considered belief in the true mind. When we hear that, it sounds difficult to understand because we might question if there is no subject to believe or no object to believe in, then how can it a belief? So we cannot just talk about this belief or just all hear about the teaching about this belief, because all those talking and hearing will just only lead us to superstitious belief. In order to have the right belief in the true mind, we need to have the practice. When the learning and the practice combine, it will help us raise that right belief in the true mind. And when we believe 10 out of 10, we will be liberated 10 out of 10. Therefore, we always are talking about strengthen the belief in the true mind, and from there strengthen the practice as well, so that we don't get controlled by all the external conditions. That's why Master Chiu Chao said we have to make a vow of keep one mind, one act for 30 years in order to achieve the result. But a lot of us keep switching our mind, switching our acts, because we don't believe in ourselves. We have different thoughts about the same thing at different moments, and therefore it deters us from making progress. That's why Master Chiu Chao said if we only have one thought, one mind, one act for 30 years, meaning we only have the mind, the thought of practice without any other thoughts, then it's guaranteed the practice will reach Hoa Thou, and the practitioner will be enlightened. And he said if someone doing that and cannot achieve enlightenment, that person can take my own life. But usually a lot of us are not able to do that, are not be able to maintain one act, one mind for throughout 30 years. But when we talk about that, a lot of people feel fearful. They feel shocked. They were like, how can I do it? It's because they just chase after the language, the teaching, the duality, but they don't practice. The patriarch used the teaching of the Buddha in the Lăng Sutra, how to believe in the true mind, how to keep our mind not being swinged by other conditions. Usually, the mind, um, our mind get influenced by the conditions. Now, if we don't chasing the outside, but instead going inside, or we can say instead of exiting the stream, we now enter the stream. But that saying is also a skill for me. Make sure we know how to utilize it properly. Then how can we enter inside? How can we enter the stream? So practice means we have to enter the inside, enter the stream instead of keep chasing after the outside. How do we do that? We do it by moving from the object. And in order to do that, we need the doubt. The doubt is the contemplation of prajna. It doesn't get stuck within knowing or not knowing. The doubt doesn't discriminate between knowing and not knowing. It might sound conflicting. It might sound conflicting, but hearing like no hearing, seeing like no seeing. What it means is no discrimination, no differentiation. And once the object is eradicated, then your six senses will be returning to the root. And the way to do it is to practice. If we practice and maintain that for 30 years, then according to Master Chu Chao, we will be able to get enlightened. But a lot of us are not able to do that. We just keep direct ourselves outside. Some people said, that's why they told us, you just need to turn our way back, turn our back against the outside. But then some people cling onto those words and they say, oh, then I should enter seclusion by closing the door and being by myself. But that is still not the way to do it. So our learning every day, and our relying on the wise teachers and the Dharma friends every day is our way to strengthen our belief in the true mind. That is what we say to rely on the three jewels. Some people have superstitious belief. They think that relying on the three jewels means to go and seeking or begging for help when they get in trouble. That is not the right way to rely on the three jewels. Rely on the three jewels is to learn from the wise teacher and to ask questions for anything that we don't understand. Let's say we read the scriptures and we're not able to understand, we can ask the Dharma friends and teachers to help. You know, don't just give up because you don't understand. When you're first reading um, Buddhist scripture or first practicing, for all the newcomer, now that you create um, a connection with this Patriot Chan method, please take a book of how to practice Zen, Patriot Zen, and then when you go home, start practicing. Whether you practice right or not, it's okay. Just practice and then come back here to ask question if you want clarification. And once you do that again and again, eventually you will be able to understand better what we are explaining. Because if you don't practice, it's like a blind person um, hearing a good eye person talking about what is the sun. Doesn't matter how long the person with good eye explain to the blind person still not be able to understand. The best way is for that blind person to um, cure their eyes and see the sun themselves. Same thing with the Buddhist Dharma. If we just hear and make assumption, then we will fall into mistake. So we need to practice. Uh, it, our time is up. Uh, it's time for us to prostrate to the Buddha now. Goodbye, everyone. It's time for us to direct ourselves to the three jewels and the ceremony. We will have a short ceremony to as an expedient to help the new beginner to create a connection with this method and help all the young kids to have an impression of this method to help them enter into the gate of liberation and enlightenment. Speak a little bit about our schedule today. All of us raise up and turn ourselves toward the three jewels. Get in line and listen to um, us talking about this Vesak day. After that, we will conclude this ceremony with the four universal vows. Namo Shakyamuni Buddha.